So welcome to our Sue Spargo Homegrown Block of the Month, and we're going to be talking about doing some stitches. And since I already have my quilt done, I'm going to be demonstrating on some other pieces that I'm doing. And in these, she doesn't, or he doesn't, I think it's a him designer, doesn't specify to put certain stitches on these, but I'm going to demonstrate on them anyway. The first one I'm going to show you is the ladder herringbone stitch, and you can see in my sample right here that I've done a ladder herringbone over the top of this little stem right here.
Oh, yes.
And I've actually used the ladder herringbone to couch it, and so I haven't stitched down this little piece of wool here that's the stem. I've just left it loose, and then I'm actually couching it with the ladder herringbone.
Oh.
See what I mean? I'm not going to actually stitch it down before. But the one thing that you have to do with the ladder herringbone is do a little back stitch along the edges first of all. And what you need to do, or try to do, is do the ladder herringbone on each side of your stem or whatever you're going to do it on, and you offset them. So I don't know if you could see this paper right here, but you can see that one side you've done the back stitch, and then on the other side you're going to offset them, and so the stitch, the middle of this stitch is going to be where the other one ended, if that sort of makes sense. So when you do your ladder herringbone, it kind of goes across back and forth like this. Now I find it's pretty hard to do it, so I just do my stitch, and then if it gets a little wonky like this one, that's okay. It doesn't bother me. But if you're really worried about it, then you might be more careful about offsetting them like this while you're doing your back stitch. So you can see right here that I've done a back stitch on either side of the stem. And then I'm going to start my ladder herringbone. So what I'm...
a thicker thread too.
This is a silk and pearl, which I love. It just shows up beautifully, and it also has a little bit of sheen to it, the silk does. So I love using it. It does cost just a little bit more, but it's my favorite thread.
I know you told us once before, because I used it in something, but how do you keep it from twisting so badly?
Well, what you'll find is there's a right way and a wrong way. The problem is that it comes on a little skein, and so you don't know which way is the right way or a wrong way. When you're doing your bouillons, usually as you start wrapping, you can see if it's untwisting it or not untwisting it. So I will just start twisting it, see if it's right, and then I'll go the other way if I was wrong, because there's no way to really know because it's on the skein. It doesn't come off a spool, and you know that one end is the right end or the wrong end.
Okay.
So I don't have a really good
that there was a right
explanation.
Or wrong, but I couldn't remember. Yeah, I just remember using it. I can't even remember which one I used it on, but it just kept
It does.
twisting.
And what I do a lot of times is, and I don't know if you can see this, is just hold it out and let it untwist itself like this.
Yeah.
If it starts to become a little bit twisted. I've started my herringbone here, and with the herringbone, it seems like I have to get out my instructions and look at it each time, so I know which way the twist goes and such. So it does help to get out your book each time you're doing some of these stitches that you don't do all the time. But what I found with this one is, which is better here? Okay, I have it on this way, so I'm going to be doing my stitch on this side, then that side, and then back and forth. And you can see how it has a little twist to it right here. So you want to make sure you're getting that little twist. What I found is if I hold the thread so it's coming towards the middle of the stem, and then I'm bringing my needle in towards the middle, then it twists the correct way. And I like to use the back end of my needle, especially on a chenille needle, so it doesn't poke through the wool or catch the thread. So I'm going to come from the outside and come in, pull my needle through one of those back stitches that I've made. So I'm holding my thread here. This is going to come, my needle will come over the top of it. And that forms a little twist. So the next one I'm going to hold towards the middle the same way. And now let's make sure I'm doing it right. That's wrong. I've got to come in.
I have to skip one or something. That's
So
confusing.
I'm coming into the middle with this one on the
Yeah,
bottom
just in
again.
the direction.
And that will give my twist. So I'm going to hold it in the middle here. I'm going to come through my back stitch towards the middle, which makes that twist, and then I'll do it back this way. Hold it, my thread in the middle, and then bring it, my needle in toward the middle. So it took me a minute to get a rhythm here. But once you get that rhythm, then it actually is quite easy to get your ladder herringbone going.
That's really fun.
This is a ladder herringbone.
Oh, okay.
So you can see how I've gotten that rhythm.
Yeah, I think it's a really fun stitch to do.
It's a pretty stitch.
And it really kind of makes a real decorative stitch on top. Everything's on top pretty much except for your back stitch on the back.
Okay then.
And which one is this one? A square?
Which pattern is this? This is called the Potting Shed. It's a design by Jerome Thomas. And I've just started some of these right here. It's really cute. Probably do it as a pluck of the month too.
Which one of these is the ladder herringbone?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
We did a little one on this.
A little tiny one.
tree, but I think that's the only one we've done it on.
And it took me probably 5 hours.
Did it?
Oh, I think it's a real fun stitch. And
There
I
are
think
Each
things
square,
that I
sometimes
just
I
can't
would
because it was so
get on it.
little, I didn't worry about
Yeah.
the offsets, and it still worked.
It still works. Once in a
Yeah.
while, like on this one, I think I skipped one
Yeah,
because I kind of got
yeah,
off.
I tried to do it offset, but it was so
pretty, that's why I was
tiny,
trying to
but
figure
it
out
still
if it's-
worked really, but I think it's a real fun stitch.
Marianne, did you do double batting on this?
No,
No?
I actually have her put in the request batting. It's called request. It's the very thinnest batting that is made.
Oh,
It's
really?
100% cotton and it's almost as thin as a piece of flannel.
Wow, because these puff up
They
quite
do.
nicely, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually my favorite batting for a wall hanging because it's really flat, but it lays really nicely on the wall.
I had never heard of that.
Wait a minute, which square is the herringbone on?
I don't know.
Yeah, puffy, yeah.
That,
Oh, so it's not this week's, or not this
it
month?
it may or may not be.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got to take pictures then, which ones we're doing.
Because I've written on my notes on that, but I think I'll remember.
And the next one I'm gonna do is the woven bar. And the woven bar actually isn't too hard. And I'm just gonna do it on
Is that
here.
what the window, this one is?
No. A woven bar will make, well, this is one right here. Sometimes you can use it for,
Looks like a
it looks like a little caterpillar or something to me when you get done with it. And we're also going to be doing, I forget all the
A woven
names.
circle and a woven peacoat.
Bro, the woven picot. Oh,
what it is?
no, it's going to be the double cast on. The double cast on actually looks much like this one, but it's done a little bit differently.
Oh, the double cast on, yeah, that's the kind of caterpillar looking, but that one is different then, huh?
It is,
Oh.
But in the end, they kind of look the same. So what I'm gonna do with the woven bar is simply do 2 parallel lines like this with my thread. And I have marked it along here so I can do each one of them the same length. You may or may not want them to be the same length depending on where it's going in your project. So I've done 2 little lines right here with my threads, and now I'm just going to weave it. So I'm going to go under and then over and under and just back and forth as if I were weaving it.
Was that what we've been doing, like the
So that's
bird beak or something like one of those
But
beaks?
this one's just a straight
Straight
piece,
one?
and that one's called the woven picot.
Okay, okay.
So it's done slightly differently. This one is going to be more straight bars, where the other one is going to, the picot is going to give you points.
Point, yeah, because you put 3 in it, don't you?
Right. Or you can
3
put 5 or
whatever.
7.
That's right.
So it's really not all that hard. The thing I found is getting the ends, if you want them to be really rectangular, then don't pull your thread too much. If you want it to kind of get smaller at the ends, then you're going to pull it a little tighter on those end ones.
But even with just doing it back and forth, you don't want to pull too tight, do you?
Correct. You want to, that's the most important part is just getting that tension.
So I see that you're doing it straight. If we were to do something like that on that roof, can you do 2 circles and do it like,
I don't know. They usually call this specific one a woven bar
because it's straight?
because it's straight.
How would you do a circle?
Well, I'm just thinking if you,
Hold it down.
yeah, I don't know how you hold it down, I guess. I don't,
I don't know if it would work. You probably would want to use a different stitch like the cast on bullion if it's going to be rounded.
well, I was just thinking when we were talking about
Uh-huh.
that yeah, I don't think you, yeah, I don't know that you
It may
could
not
do
work as well. You could try it, but
Yeah, I don't know how you would tack that middle down as you make your loop or something.
but when you do these little bars, you're going to want to pull the little woven bars up, and so it's nice and tight.
Okay.
And then you can keep weaving a couple more in there, because I think it looks better if it's nice and tight rather than loose. And then when I get it filled where I want it, then I'll sink it.
Sink it.
And so is it loose in the middle?
Yes, it is loose in the
Cute.
middle.
That's a cute stitch.
So if you didn't get it tight, it could unravel like the bullion, couldn't it? It could like
This one
this.
won't unravel because it's just, you're just weaving back and forth between those 2 bars.
It's a cute stitch.
So that's your woven bar. Okay, let's try the circle. So this is another project that I've worked on. So this one just has the little circles. This is a Wendy Williams pattern.
So what stitch are we
We're
looking for?
doing the eyelet wheel. So I can use any thread with Wendy Williams. She really enjoys using contrasting threads, where I've noticed that Sue Spargo often uses matching or complementary threads. So if I could do something matching, but I want it to show up, and I like Wendy Williams' attitude, kind of, that she likes them to show up. Let's use a really plum thread. How about that? These things are great, but when they lose the little tab,
Oh, then there's a
then there's a Ziploc bag. Yeah. So I'm going to use this little sparkly thread right here.
That's so fun.
Oh, I've got some of that, but I've never known how to use it, where to use it. That'd be fun on those.
Wherever you want.
Yeah, I know.
I did a Christmas one and I used the gold, but then it was just really.
Is it easy to
Put a
use?
line to hang
It
the stockings
unravels
on.
just a little
Does
bit
it?
more.
That's what I was wondering, if it would unravel, so I've been a little hesitant about using it.
So the razzle is a rayon, and it has just a nice sheen to it. This one's called Dazzle, and it has the little sparkle in it.
Yeah.
So these are all Sue Spargo ones, and we do have a nice selection of them over there. Not all of them, but a pretty good selection. So what I'm going to do is a little, what do we call it, eyelet wheel in this place right here. So I could mark it and kind of show you. She uses 8 different spokes on her eyelet wheel, and she does have those spokies things, but as you could tell, I'm kind of more off the cuff, freelance, and if they're not even, I actually like it better than if they're perfect. But you can mark them. I just do it by sight. This is a friction pen. So I do what I'd call my 12, 6, 3, 9, and 3 here, and then 1 in between.
Oh.
So you could mark them if you want.
Our friction pens don't work that nicely on there.
I end up.
You always
just
quote from
using
the
a
outside in.
And I'm gonna come out on the outside of my circle right here. And she has a pattern for how she does this, but with an eyelet wheel, I don't think it really matters because you're gonna go in all the spaces anyway. So you can follow the little pattern she has, but I don't know that it matters. She says, go here, 1, 2, 3, you know, but.
So you're
I'm
not.
such a rule follower.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
so-
I'm not.
So you come up and then go back, so you're making that top. I see.
So what you're essentially going to do is outline the circle, and then you're gonna make the spokes into the middle. And each of those stitches will be a separate stitch. You can do this in a similar way by using like a blanket stitch and coming into the middle of each of them, and it'll look very similar. But this eyelet wheel is essentially a poke and stab for each of those stitches. So we're gonna outline that little section right here and then come back here. And then I'm gonna come right into the middle of the circle with my thread. And then back up in that little hole, or almost the same hole. And again, I'm gonna outline. And then I'm gonna come into the middle.
So you'll have everything into the middle each time.
Yeah. Back to the outside. And then I'm gonna outline my circle with a stitch. And in the end, you're coming into this same hole in the circle. So it does sort of form a little hole, or what they would call an eyelet. But I call it poke and stab when you're going up and down like that. Let's do the outside first. Back to the outside. And you may have done something that looks very similar with the blanket, like a blanket stitch, which you could always do. And in the end, you may not be able to really tell that much of a difference. The only nice thing about this one is sometimes the blanket stitch tends to fall over into the middle. And when you're doing the poke and stab kind of thing like this, then it's gonna stay really secure around the edges. So sometimes I prefer this one. But you can see how we go all the way around the circle. And this is done really, it looks really fun when you use a variegated thread. I'm gonna come around to the original place I started here.
So see that you're just outlining the quarters. Instead of outlining the whole thing first and going back.
Well, you could do it either way. So there's my eyelet wheel right there. Let's see, I did one right here with a variegated thread.
That is cute.
And it looks like she uses 8 spokes on those, all of them. Okay, and our last stitch is, did we do them all? Yeah? No, double cast on.
And the double cast on's the roof, right?
No, that's a different one. That's a bullion. Do you want, I can do the bullion too if you want. I don't know if we did it last time. I think we did.
That's a cast on going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've done that
it.
one.
We have done it, just not that big.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just do a double cast on right here as though it were a rivet in this little place right here. Maybe I'm gonna change my mind and use a different thread. You can use a big fat thread like this 3, and it won't take quite as long to do it. But with,
Have we got it in one of our things we're doing this time?
I think some of, I don't know if she uses woven bars for the carrots or if she uses this one. They look very
the
similar.
carrots. She's got the 3 picot one.
Okay, so it might be a picot too. A lot of these stitches, once you get them done, they look really similar.
Yeah.
One thing about this one is you're going to need a pretty long thread because we're doubling it.
Oh.
So I'm going to tie a knot in a double thread right here. And I'm going to make a little double cast on bullion right here. Is that what it's called? Double cast on, yeah. So like like if we're doing a bullion, and I should probably use a different needle
The Milner.
Longer, yeah.
so I can cast them on, but I'm not gonna change it for you guys. Just play like it's a Milner needle.
Good luck getting it off.
So I'm going to make it my stitch the length that I want my double cast on. And then I'm gonna come back up to the place where I started, like I would with a bullion. And then I'm gonna split my thread.
Of course you are.
Of course.
And I have to kind of twist it right here so it's nice and straight. So I have both sides, one thread here and one thread here. And then I'm going to cast on to my needle that's in there. So those of you who knit or crochet, you know how to cast on, right? So I'm gonna do one on this side.
Okay.
And one on that side. So I just go back and forth as I twist the thread over
So what is
You're
the
keeping it
my
really
needle.
loose, aren't you?
what is the difference on that one and a regular cast on? What's the different in look?
Well, you're doing essentially the same thing with the drizzle,
Mm-hmm.
but with the drizzle, you're only doing it with
You
one
only-
thread.
You only have the little things on one side, so is that gonna
Correct.
be on both sides?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh. This one really looks like a little caterpillar.
Yeah, and I've read that book cover to cover twice. This one I first
So what I want to do is make it approximately the length of my stitch in between there. Because if I make it longer, it's gonna bump up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that looks about right. It's kind of hard to guess sometimes. So again, like you do a bullion, I'm going to hold it here with my fingers and pull it through. And I always get my threads all caught up. And it's hard because usually one thread's a little longer than the other. So I have to pull both up until they are even.
That looks really fun.
And then I'm gonna pull it back.
And are you in an 8 thread?
Okay.
This is an 8, yeah.
So it's the same, like the same plan or procedure as a regular bowline. in a
But it's
sense.
got the little,
But as you're casting
Like
little,
two
on,
little
threads.
things on both sides, the little, I don't even know what those are called. Those
so little cast-ons.
little, yeah, the little
I'm gonna-
cast-ons would be on both
I'm
sides.
going to try to kind of wiggle it
Oh,
until it looks good,
like a bug.
but it does kind of look like a little bug.
Trilobite.
Yeah, perfect trilobite. And again, I'm gonna have to pull each thread because I can't keep it
And do
perfect.
we have that in one of our,
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what our pictures look like that we're doing.
I remember this one.
Gonna have to wiggle
We're doing
it.
this one and this one.
Oh, that room, I don't even want to look at it. What other one?
I can't remember the other ones.
It's darling, it makes it.
That it is.
Okay, so
Right.
there's my little trilobite looking thing.
Yeah.
That's really, it's cute.
Ooh.
How do, this,
Whipped woven circles.
is that,
That's
is that the same
fascinating.
as this
That's-
one, only in a circle?
Mm-mm, it's different.
Yes,
So
we have books.
these are the 4 stitches that I have for this month.
So we've got
And they
this
may
one
or
and
may
this
not
one.
coordinate with what you're doing. I just had
Okay,
to
that-
spread them out.
Yeah.
So we're only doing 4 or 5 each month.
But this will be put on, we'll be able to.
Yeah, if it works out.
I like the angle of it though, you can really see that. That's
I'll
fabulous.
try. But I would be happy to help you with other stitches too. And I probably will just turn this off and wait till next time for our other stitches. And hopefully it helps a little bit. So thanks for joining us.